Hey everybody, welcome back to Sounds Like a Drum, Cadence independent media production. Today we're doing a hack, one of our favorite things that we do around here, and this is a new one, or at least new to us, way to get around having basketball-y overtones in your floor tom. A few videos ago, many videos ago, we put a sandbag in the bass drum because somebody said that was a thing that people do, and we tried it out, and it sounded so good, we left it in there for about 6 months, and I kind of miss it, to be totally honest. It sounded fantastic. The physics of it are debatable. We're not totally sure what part of it was doing it, but the thing we did know for sure is that it wasn't touching either of the heads, which is usually what we're doing when we're putting stuff in a bass drum. This falls in the same kind of category. Bass drums are big offenders for kind of basketball-y, pingy overtones when you're going for minimal or no muffling, doubly so if they're ported. And sometimes floor toms can do this too. I think maybe any drum can do this, but particularly big floor toms, often with clear batters, tend to be the prescription where I notice it the most anyway. Now, obviously we can't put a sandbag inside a floor tom because it's turned up differently and it's a vertical drum. But there's something to be said for breaking up overtones or modifying sustain without actually touching the heads, because you're not going to lose so much volume if you're not physically muffling the heads. But maybe there's some things knocking around in there that we want to break up, we want to get rid of, or at least we want to make them less prominent compared to the part of the sound that we're looking for. So we found out about this hack based on an Instagram post from a prominent drummer that was talking about it, and got an idea of what it was for based on what they were saying with regards to the kind of pinginess and the basketball-y tone coming from a floor tom. So we're using our normal 16 over here with a clear EC2 batter and a clear G1 on the bottom. And we've got it a little basketball-y, so let's check out what it sounds like first without the hack installed. Now, this is not a bad sound at all. It sounds good. The culprit with this kind of sound oftentimes is actually tuning, and specifically the interval between the two heads. I've noticed it most prominently in floor toms when the reso is very high and the batter is very low, and then also when they're exactly the same. So some kind of offset between those two things tends to work around it. But if you have a tone you like and it's working for you and you're frustrated by this aspect of the sound, that's the situation to try out sort of a little band-aidy fix like this. So here's what we did. We cut up a t-shirt, Ben cut up a t-shirt, and what we've done is suspended it across two of the lugs inside of the drum vertically like a curtain. We used a couple of the bolts that are holding lugs onto the drum to just sort of affix it and screw them back in. The wacky thing about this is it's not touching either of the heads, it's just hanging in there. So any sound that we're hearing affected by this is actually just the air being affected by the resistance of the cloth hanging in there. It's creating a permeable barrier, but it's slowing it down. And if you've ever put up any kind of baffling or any kind of muffling in a room, it tends to absorb high end, like the sort of things that are sort of commercially available. So that's kind of in the ballpark of what this is trying to do. So let's try it out, see what it does. I have to say I was really surprised at how different it was. It's most different in the close mics, and it is also different in the further sort of overhead and room mics and things like that, but the immediate difference in the close mics is surprisingly noticeable. To be fair, this is a thing that I could fix with tuning. It would mean a slightly different maybe pitch range for the drum, or I might have to choose certain heads. But in terms of being in a situation and going, I have a problem and I need to fix it immediately, that there is a place for this. And it's not a better sound, it's just a different sound without changing any of the components. I mean, the tuning's exactly the same and the heads are exactly the same. Mount sticks, I'm hitting it the same. So this falls right in line with a lot of kind of immediate, kind of in the trenches hacks that you can use, probably mostly in a studio situation, I would say, when you are dealing with close mics that you're going to need to use and modify over the course of time. But I have to say it's really hip that it didn't make the drum quieter. It adjusted that part of the sound, but the drum is exactly as loud. You know, the transients and Pro Tools are the same. It is just kind of rounded out. It's kind of scooped some of the highs and the high mids out of the drum, but it still has the attack that might be mitigated if we had put moon gels all over it or a lot of tape or something like that. Now, addressing this sound phenomenon that we're trying to mitigate with this technique, there's a lot of talk about why some drums do it more than others. Some people say that square-sized drums, which is to say same diameter as height, do it more. This isn't a square drum, this is shallower. I believe it's 13 deep, 16 across. Some people say it's specific to certain kinds of heads. It could be specific to certain kinds of bearing edges, depending on who you talk to. Or frankly, bearing edges that are not behaving, that might have a dip in them or something like that. It's very hard to say, but at the end of the day, anything that can help quickly and that's not super invasive and that allows you to do your job, like those are the kind of things that we really need in our toolkit. All right, now here's a quick back-to-back of both of those sounds. First without and then with. Well, that about wraps it up. This is kind of one of those nice little little things that we found on the internet where you could just test it out and see what it does. And usually when we find those, we're surprised by the results. Sometimes it does nothing, and sometimes it's really dramatic. And anything we have like this is going to be helpful in gig situations, recording situations, you know, whatever it is. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you get our notifications for new videos coming out. We have videos coming out every week. We also have some extra videos coming out most weeks, or at least half the time, to keep your eyes out for. The primary episodes are still coming out on Tuesdays, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big thanks to our patrons on the Patreon for helping make all of this possible. They're sustaining us, they're keeping us going, and we have some fabulous stuff coming up for them specifically that if you want to be a part of, you got to follow the link down there. You got to jump on board, help us out, make sure we can keep bringing this information to you, and keep us digging deep with these experiments. And lastly, I am super curious if any of you have done something like this before, because I found out about this, you know, pretty recently, and I really didn't know what it was going to do. And there aren't that many hacks like that where you look at it and really have no idea what's going to happen. And it's beautifully simple too. So let us know, and let us know if you liked it when you did it.